What
Yeah.
about you? Like when it comes to animating, what's
Oh,
your go-to tools?
I think like for everybody right now, I think for animators, it's like Animbot for sure because it can do everything.
Yeah.
But specifically within Animbot, I think like I don't use Tween Machine stuff like that. I used to, but honestly, I don't
Yeah.
really anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know
Same.
why
Neither do I.
because I
Yeah. I
think I
stopped
just
using
let
it as much.
because I think I let it spline. Like for example, if I have two poses, I actually before when I use a step, I would use Tween Machine to set the in between, right? But now I just like if it's in spline, I just go for like I just look at it which pose I want it within that
Yeah.
spline and then just key it and
You
then
just
drag
grab
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
so much easier, and
Yeah. That's
because
kind
it's
of what I started doing as well. It's
exactly
quicker because it's already there. You can
yeah
see what it looks like, and then you like middle
yeah
mouse drag to the key pose, and you like hit S or whatever.
exactly, and but it's like it's and it's different for each part, right? So it's 20% for this, like 50% for that. So I don't see a point of going through every single body part and then tween machine it every time. Um,
Yeah.
just
I think it's helpful at the beginning,
yeah,
or if you're doing like a
step
lot of pose to
yeah
pose, just
yeah
like blocking in poses.
yeah
But yeah, like
yeah
nowadays I just don't key as much like
yeah
as I used to.
yeah
So, and I think it's
exactly
just like a workflow thing. But yeah, we can cover that in like
yeah
another
yeah.
podcast. But yeah,
I use it to clean up
yeah,
curves. For example, like you know, um, I'm doing a run, right? I could delete all the keys and make it linear, so it's like traveling at the same speed, right? But you know, sometimes I already have keys on, like a lot of keys on there, and I can't.
yeah,
That's how lazy I am. I can't be bothered to delete it. I'm just
yeah,
like I select all of it, and I basically do it even a like an even spacing thing, so it doesn't ease in or out. It just like moves all the keys, so it's like between a starting point and end point, and it just makes it straight. So I'm like,
yeah,
like like stuff like that, like little things. And they have they also have a space switching tool or a rotation order tool that I use,
yeah,
and a mirror tool, and that usually works for
yeah,
like almost like um, all rigs, which is that's why it's good because I
yeah,
always mirror select, and mirror additional select. So
yeah. What does mirror additional select do?
basically like let's say you select a shoulder, right? And your mirror
Yeah,
select would just select the shoulder, but mirror additional select would select like when you click this and your hotkey for mirror additional select, it'll select both. So now, let's say you're doing a
right. I
shrug,
see.
right? Now I don't
Yeah,
need to do one at a time. I can just quickly select both and then have them shrug.
and then shrug.
Yeah,
So a lot of it is like just like the small little things that help
speed.
speed your
Yeah,
workflow up.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's cool. I
definitely,
think
yeah,
that's
um,
probably maybe that's what you're missing when you go to Blender. You're missing
mirrors like
all
those
the
little
yeah
things. Yeah,
the little things I think that you're kind of used to in
yeah,
Maya.
yeah. The mirrors, yeah, mirrors like this definitely the way, like the thing. I can't even imagine what the world space, like the space tools. I don't even
Yeah,
because I don't even use like IKFK like switch stuff anymore. I just use IK and then I switch the parent space of the IK.
you switch the parent space of the IK, so like it's in like world, it's in
Chess. That's the
like
only
chess.
two really. Yeah.
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 I don't know, like I'm like someone that like just doesn't really use IK much. Like
You use
for
FK.
arms. Yeah,
Yeah.
for arms I don't know. I feel like I'm always in FK, but I
Yeah.
think it's a workflow thing. I
Yeah.
know someone who used to like exclusively use IK for
Hmm.
arms. So he'll
Yeah.
never do FK arms.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's yeah, definitely just a preference thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like rotating things around. It feels
Yeah.
nicer than
I don't know. That's
translating.
like two, like, that's an extra thing you have to rotate, or
Yeah.
two extra things you have to rotate. For
Yeah.
IK, it's like this and I guess the Polvik. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's my OCD because like FK, I know exactly which axes that I'm rotating it.
Yeah.
But in IK, you don't know what axis you're rotating it at. And
Yeah.
if you like switch back to FK, then
Yeah.
it could be gimbal locked, or like it could
Yeah.
have rotated like maybe like 0.5 degrees in an
Yeah.
axis that didn't need to be. So
Yeah.
I'm usually like OCD like that. I'm like
Yeah.
rotating every axis in gimbal,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
super manual.
Maybe that's why
But
I
it's
stopped.
probably not like
Yeah.
it's not a good speed thing. I think to
Well,
IK is probably faster.
I think I'm just scarred because I think I was so reliant on the IK-FK switch at one
Yeah,
point, that it
like the
was,
matching, right? Like to
yeah, the
match it.
matching. Yeah. And back then I remember I couldn't find any good ones that worked for all of rigs. I
Yeah,
think that's pretty hard. So I just started using IK, but there's also a reason. I'm pretty sure that I had to clean up people's animation. And what really bugs me is like people who rotate, like for example, your elbow only rotates on one axis, really, you know.
yeah.
Um, but there would be people who would cheat it so it rotates on all sort of axes.
All three.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm just
that does
like,
bug
I
me as
can't, I
well.
can't do that. Like, that's not right.
I think especially if you're doing like VFX and then
Yeah,
everything needs to be realistic,
yeah,
and it's just so much easier. Like if you just animate in a realistic way,
yeah,
your animation will look realistic. I think that's
yeah,
probably something that people like don't always think about unless they do like a lot of realistic animation. So like
yeah,
when I animate now, it's always like three-dimensional, almost animating like I'm in a game. So I
yeah,
never animate to like one viewport specifically
yeah,
until like the very end. Like I get to like maybe like 85%, 90%. Then I'm like, I should probably look through the viewport now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the chances are it'll look good. Like it might not be like super tailored to the viewport, but it'll look real.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
think it
think
makes
to
a
me
big
that's what
difference.
matters.
Yeah, like when people cheat too much, I feel like it doesn't work in VFX. It really, it,
Yeah,
it's
it's
harder.
not.
It's almost not worth it. You might as well do it properly with the right like rotations, like what an arm would do, um,
Yeah, yeah.
than to
Because
cheat it.
I think in like yeah, maybe in animation, this everything's a little bit more like planned out, right?
Yeah,
So like people would have like proper storyboards. You'd have like a really good layout team, getting the
yeah,
cameras and everything perfect
yeah,
before you even start.
yeah,
And then in VFX, it's totally the opposite. It's
yeah.
like nothing is planned. So like you just have to animate, and then like the director would eventually be like, okay, let's settle on this camera. So
Yeah,
your animation needs to look good from like
all
all different
angles.
angles because
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's almost like 100% gonna change. So,
yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, um, yeah. Like I'm trying to think of another tool uh, that I really need, and I think it's the same as you, the world space bake.
yeah,
I think if I had to
that's such a
choose, it would
handy
be
one.
space switch and world space bake. Like I can't imagine that changed my life. World space bake. Like it makes everything so much easier and
Yeah,
so much cleaner as well. For example, your character is traveling this way, but your world control is actually facing like I don't know, like this way, right? So
yeah,
it's actually fighting. The rotations are fighting against each other, and having to fix that manually, I can't even. I don't. I can't
yeah.
even fathom doing that.
Yeah, that would be like an
That's
impossible
insane.
task almost.
Yeah, yeah,
By the time
yeah,
you fix it, like the shot's already due. So
yeah. Exactly. So even simple, like just a simple thing like that, it fixes
yeah,
so many problems. You know.
like a good trick I use like when animating to the camera is I bake the character to the camera space,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can clean up the curves really easily that way.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can make the curves nice and smooth so that the character, like if the character is doing a lot of movement, is traveling through space,
Mm-hmm.
then I can get the character looking really smooth and really good
Mm-hmm.
based on the camera's animation. And the camera
Yeah.
might have like camera shake and all this kind of crazy stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's nice to be able to just like bake it to the camera space, do all your cleanup
Yeah.
so it looks good in camera, and then bake it back to like whatever
Worlds.
world
Yeah.
space you want to be at.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Like world
Yeah.
space, space switching, those two, I guess, are synonymous to each other. So I think it's like you need both.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the space switch tool I wrote was kind of like
Mm.
it sort of bakes like either to like a selected object or it just
Mhm.
bakes it to world if
Yeah.
there's none selected. But yeah, I guess yeah, in my mind they come hand in hand as well.
Yeah.
So you can't have one without the other because
Yeah.
you're always like baking between the two. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say like I'll give it like okay, so we can definitely conclude that space switching and world space bake is up there in our list. Um,
yeah,
I would actually say the third like the maybe an overlap tool like our tool that we made
yeah,
Noodle. Yeah, I think I would give an asterisk to that and like a rotation order tool. Yeah,
yeah.
those
Those would be like super handy, like a rotation order, like
but
baking
rotation
and then being able to
yeah
switch rotation orders.
but rotation order you can also use the world's like the space switching because or the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
space bake sorry um,
You can bake it to like a locator and
and then
then
switch
do the
the
switch
rotation
and then
order.
bake it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe
That's
that.
usually what I do. It would
Yeah,
be nice to have it as one button though.
yeah.
So I agree.
So
Yeah, it would just save time.
yeah, but I think an overlapper tool is
Yeah.
super useful to get some realistic animation straight away.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And something I wrote but I never released was like a search tool. And it just
Mhm.
searches all the tools that I've written over the past. And then I use that on the daily now as well because
Mhm.
like I never dive in like menus or try hit buttons to launch tools.
Yeah.
So now I've coded it so that it's all like it's all just like one hotkey and I type a couple of letters and then I hit enter and it just performs the action. So
Yeah.
like the snapping now I hit shift space to
Yeah.
launch the search tool and then I just type snap and then it just snaps
Yeah.
it snaps my selections together.
Yeah.
So that saves me I don't know a few seconds every day. So every time I need to perform that action, I save like
Yeah.
2 seconds. So maybe in a day I'll save like
Yeah.
2 minutes.
It's funny.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like get, as you stay longer in the industry, these little micro things that help, like that make your day a little bit faster, a little bit
Yeah.
less tedious, means so much. Like it's
It adds up to a
yeah,
lot. But I think it comes back to um like a broader discussion on like just like flow and flow
hmm
state like as you're working
yeah,
because animation is definitely one of those things I think if you're good enough at it and you've been doing it long enough you
hmm
get into a flow state when you're animating that you're not like really thinking anymore you like your muscles know what they're doing your brain kind of already knows what it needs to do so it's just performing those actions
yeah,
and you get in like a flow state and I think any little thing that can like help maintain that
yeah,
flow state
yeah,
would it's like a huge bonus. It sounds like oh it only saved like a few seconds here and there, but what you retain is like the flow state and I think you just work faster like in
yeah,
like a longer duration than if you were to constantly stop start your mind,
yeah,
to have to like think and change
yeah.
hats and whatnot.
Something that broke my flow state was when I had to. There's two things. When I had to switch between perspective camera and my shot cam, uh, the process of pressing spacebar and then or like panel, then perspective, and you select it. I couldn't do it. I had to select that and make a hotkey for that. And then on top, and another one, it's also to do with camera, and they don't have the resolution gate or like the gate is always set to like a gray, transparent kind of color. And I
Yeah,
remember always having to do that, and it was like bugging me so much because it would throw me off.
yeah.
I would finally summon the courage and I guess the energy and motivation to start a new shot. Then whenever I get to setting up that camera, I'm just like, it's not worth it. It like breaks me out of the flow state, And
Yeah,
then
yeah. Because you want to get into animating like
yeah,
straight away, but then there's just all this like setup
setup,
and
yeah.
yeah,
And
that
then
it
I had to,
just yeah.
yeah, and I don't even code, right? So I'm just like looking for like tips for anybody who's just starting out. If you actually look at the script editor, and I know you code in Python, but like if you look in the script editor, everything you click or most of the things you click and select there would be a line of code that comes up. I got so I don't code at all, so I got so frustrated that whenever I was like basically watching what I'm doing in the script editor whilst I'm selecting a camera, creating a camera, like switching on the mask and doing the like setting up the transparency and everything. I basically copied all that and then all that Mel script, and then I just shoved it into my shelf so that I don't need to ever worry about it again. So now whenever I set up a Maya camera, I just click that button and then it'll be done. And that's it. Like I don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
That's actually like a really handy thing for Maya, I think.
Yeah.
It's super underrated. And I don't know if there's like programs out there that do the same thing, but being able to like perform actions and see what the underlying code is, it was like super helpful. Like that's how I started scripting, is basically doing exactly that, doing what you're saying, just like kind of messing around in the viewport, doing small things and then seeing what the output is and being like, oh, that looks like pretty simple. Like it's just like a few lines, and then you just have to break down what those lines mean, like what the few words mean. And then once you understand it, it's like, oh well, I can swap out names. I can add additional options to it to perform like a slightly different version of it. And that's how you kind of start learning the ins and outs. But that's exactly how I learned to script.
And I think
that's Python's not that different. It's just like you just put brackets, add some brackets to things, and then you're coding in Python.
Yeah, that's definitely not how us people who don't code view that. Like that is not just adding brackets. But I think for anybody who wants to if you guys have any tools and scripts that that you find that you must have, let us know, actually. Feel free to put it in the comments or whatnot, because we're always
if you don't have a tool that if you can't find one but you would really need it, and put it in the comments, because I might get curious enough. I'll jump on board and just maybe it's only like 5 lines of code. Sometimes it's like with coding, it's weird because sometimes a really simple thing could be really complicated. Like writing a search bar, like it sounds like, oh, that's like a pretty simple thing that would be really helpful to have, but it turns out it's like a really complicated thing. And sometimes a really complicated thing turns out to be a really simple one, where it's like only 5 lines of code and you can do this crazy thing that people are like, wow, like how long did it take you to write that? Oh, it's just 5 lines of code.
But let us know what you think, and let us know what scripts you use, and then hopefully if there's one that maybe that you need and Billy finds it interesting and has spare time, he can code that shit. Throw it out there into the wild. See if it gains traction. See people name it after them. Name the script after them. Cool. Well, I guess that's this episode for Anim Jam, and we'll see you guys next week.
Right.
Peace. Thanks for watching or listening to our content. If you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again. Peace.